Welcome to the bold analysis. The appointment of former Treasury CS Henry Rotich as a senior advisor on the fiscal affairs and budget policy in the office of the president is a puzzle that has caught many unaware. But in this podcast, I want us to dive deep into this secret card in the offing amidst the looming Cabinet Reshuffle. And we will have to look at this keenly. But before we get into that, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the home stretch. We are finishing our February project today with we only had a deficit of 33,000, so that we'll be able to release these women from the hospital. And I know for those who are hearing this for the first time, this is the last mention anyway. For the first time, these 7 women are actually stuck in the hospital because of hospital bill that had ballooned, simply because they delivered with complications. But the Linda Mama that is supposed to cater for them was scaled down to 5,000 after Uhuru Kenyatta left, and now it's normally not enough. So those with the huge bills were stuck there, and we promised them that we're going to deliver them today. We are pushing that, and probably we can move to Saturday tomorrow morning. I've already spoken with the management, and by any time I'll reach my target, I will walk there and discharge them from that hospital. So I only have that deficit. Those who had promised, I know quite a number had reached out to me telling me, Kevin, we'll do on Friday. I still reach out to you so that we can be able to tighten, because I also want to, we can't just leave them that way. I also want to get some few food stuff for them. Waende nayo nyumbani. Hata kuwatoa, hata transport lazima utafute, because they are really in need. These are women drawn from these other islands. The Dandora. There is Dandora, there is Kayole, there is one even comes from Radi, the Embakasi place, and is it Mkuru Kwanjenga? Most of those areas. So kindly, let's just help. This is the last bit of it. The next time we'll come back, I will come with a full report after I believe we shall have been able to discharge them. And this probably will run to tomorrow morning, on Saturday morning. Then I'll be able to discharge them. Now, why are Kenyans shocked about this Henry Rotich move? Why are even Kenyans shocked? Just today when I was doing my research, I remembered this video when Sam Gituku was interviewing William Ruto. He pressed Ruto to the corner, and I wanted to listen to this video because you will see how the president was trying by all means to defend those who are implicated in Aurora and Kimwarer Dam. We know very well that the grounds of dismissal of Henry Rotich from cabinet by the former president Uhuru Kenyatta was about that Aurora and Kimwarer Dam scandal.
That's why I will not send anybody to any office to do anything. Now, they must do their job in accordance with the law.
Mheshimiwa Rais, unaposema kesi ya Aurora na Kimwarer ilikuwa ni utapeli, unamaanisha kwamba hakuna pesa zozote za mtozo ushuru zilizopotea katika kesi hii inayohusiana na mabwawa ya Aurora na Kimwarer?
Sisi ndio tulipoteza hiyo pesa, kwa sababu serikali wakati ilienda ikasimamisha the contractors went to court, right? Because they hadn't committed any crime. Number one, we were supposed to give them land to do the dam. We didn't give them the land. The land was there, but somehow, and I don't want to accuse, I think we have said let's not talk about the past. Whoever was there decided they should not get the land because they wanted to frustrate the project. The thing disappeared. The DCI was mobilized to go and get the contractor in Itare. Up to today, nobody knows what the problem was with Itare. They went to court. We have had to go and negotiate. I have had to go and negotiate with Italy, for your information, for us to settle, because we were going to pay 40 billion for nothing, without anything on the ground. So we've had to negotiate.
So then, is there a correlation between your negotiations with the Italian government, and the president was actually here, of Italy that is there a relationship between that and the withdrawal of charges against all these accused persons?
No, ask the court. I mean, the court has been going on.
Yeah.
What did the court say? There were no witnesses, because what happened?
The court
witnesses
said this was a prosecution-driven acquittal. Because there's no longer any cooperation. And the reason I'm asking this question is because you stood at the steps of the front of this building and you said that you have agreed with the President of Italy to withdraw all cases against the firms in Italy, and Italy was also going to withdraw all cases against the government of Kenya.
Correct.
So I'm asking the question because initially there were several people that had been presented before court. Some of them, I think even the current central bank governor, Kamau Thuge. Is there a relationship? Because you said withdrawal will be done.
When we talked about...
Is there a consequence?
No. What we said about the withdrawal was they took us to court in London. We made a counterclaim just to make sure that we are not exposed. So when we made the counterclaim, then that's how the case was continuing. So we said, for that matter, they are going to withdraw their case in the arbitration court. We were going to do the same. It had nothing to do with the cases in Kenya, because the cases in Kenya were criminal. The cases in the arbitration were contractual. So these were very different cases. So the case has been going on in the Kenyan courts, mention after mention. I mean, and by the way, those cases were going on even before I came to office. They had been there for 3 years, and it hadn't moved 1 inch. Why?
Do you think there was any feasibility study done on the two dams? Do you know of any?
That is now for you to determine.
No, I'm asking
because,
you.
You have all the information, because you know that there was supposed to be a feasibility study. You must be having the information.
I don't have the information. You're the president of Kenya. What's their feasibility study?
What I can tell you is that contract of Kimwaren and Aror was signed with other contracts, similar contracts, in the front of State House here, in the presence of the president then. I wasn't even there.
And that's what I'm asking.
Those contracts were signed.
That's what I'm asking you. Are you aware of any feasibility study for the two?
I am aware that the contracts were as legitimate as they were signed.
Okay.
They were signed before two heads of government at that point in time. And if there was any problem with them, it should have come out in court.
The reason I'm asking that is because you then, I don't know, should I conclude that you don't have any information of any feasibility study? Because if there was none, then that is contrary to procurement laws.
If you know that there was none,
I'm asking, I don't know.
No, if you don't know, why are you asking?
I'm asking you.
No, if you don't know, why are you making an assertion on something that you don't know?
I've asked you a question.
What I can tell you is that, to the best of my knowledge, by the time contracts are progressed to a place where it is signed before a head of state, that those contracts should have met every condition.
And your predecessor found there was no feasibility study.
If he found out that there was no feasibility study, then he should have prosecuted the matter in the way it should have been.
Which happened. People were taken to court.
And then where did we end up with the contract? We ended up with the government of Kenya.
And I've always believed that because our President William Ruto brags as the man who was the engine behind Uhuru Kenyatta, most of those first-term scandals, he's really had a big influence in terms of what was happening behind the scene. And that was telling you that this was cast. The decision had already been made and was just finding ways to return it to the cabinet. But let me give you some very interesting facts here. Look at this screenshot. If you look at this screenshot, this is Kamau Thuge, who was, by the time Aror and Kimwarer happened, Kamau Thuge, who is the current central bank manager, was the PS in treasury, as Henry Rotich was the CS. And when it happened, that 63 billion scandal, Kamau Thuge was reduced to be the witnessed for the state, and he threw Henry Rotich under the bus. So he turned from being an accused person to a witness. Then, after that, in 2022, the former head of public service, Kenyan, this 2022 December, remember at this time, Felix Kosgei had not been appointed during that transition period. That Kamau Tuge was appointed to be in charge of this position of fiscal affairs and budget policy. He was advisor in the office of the president until he left that office to become the CBK governor. Then Henry Rotich has been appointed. Look at how things seems to have changed. So that's why I'm telling you, this is just a matter of tweaking. But these fellows have been around. Another context, it is coming at a time when late in December, it was largely reported that Treasury CS Njuguna Ndung'u even wrote a resignation letter to William Ruto demanding to leave the cabinet. But that letter was declined. William Ruto declined so that he will take time to try to find solutions on what exactly has been going on. Another context as we speak, CBK has been at loggerheads with the Treasury CS Njuguna Ndung'u on who is to blame on the Kenyan shilling, who and who not to blame. So there have been fights around it. And as if that is not enough, the head of debt management in Treasury resigned. So that's why I'm telling you, this move is coming at a time when there have been a very big fight between Treasury and CBK. And remember, the link between Treasury and the president is now this office. And let me remind you, you should not forget that Henry Rotich is not a newcomer. In 2013, there was a power sharing between URP and Jubilee then, and TNA. And according to Jimmy Wanjigi, William Ruto picked money as Uhuru Kenyatta picked the sword. And that is why Henry Rotich was Uhuru Ruto's pick in cabinet.
Agreement ya Uhuru Ruto. Ndani ya room kulikuwa Uhuru Kenyatta, William Samoei Ruto na Jimmy Wanjigi. Kweli ama si kweli? Akaongeza akasema hiyo agreement ni huyu amechora na hako nayo, sijui ameifungia wapi, labda atoboe wananchi waone. Si alisema hivyo? Nitatoa siri moja tu.
Since the fallout between President Kenyatta and his deputy in 2018, there have been attempts at trying to explain the genesis of their troubles, especially at a time they had been seen as the perfect political duo.
Serikali tuligawanya nusu namna hii. Tulikata namna hii nusu. Mguu mmoja ulikuwa unasimamishwa na national security, yani bunduki. Mguu mwingine national treasury, yani pesa. Unajua inchi ni bunduki na pesa. Bunduki na pesa. Haya. Nikauliza Uhuru Kenyatta, kwa sababu wewe ndio utakuwa rais. Chakua ya kwanza, wewe unataka nini? Akasema, Jimmy, mimi nataka bunduki. Nataka bunduki. William Samoei Ruto akaenda na mguu ya treasury.
On March 15th, during the United Democratic Alliance National Delegates Convention, DP Ruto dared Wanjigi to expose the details of their agreement with President Kenyatta.
The agreement, the written agreement between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, the original, this man has it. Na utarudisha lini wewe? The original huyu mungwana yuko naye.
That is what Jimmy was saying. And as fate will have its way, even Chirchir, who was appointed by Rotich in cabinet on Ruto axis, was actually kicked out of another corruption scandal. This is Chirchir's shortest route to cabinet. And just look at Chirchir. Before 2022 general election, Chirchir was appointed as chief of staff in the office of the deputy president. Then he played a role in the last election. And when the cabinet was formed, he was appointed a cabinet in charge of energy. What is new? William Ruto is simply re-injecting these fellows back to cabinet. According to me, Henry Rotich has been brought up here as part of the wider scheme to form William Ruto's kitchen cabinet amidst the looming cabinet reshuffle. And I want to tell you why that reshuffle is coming. Number one, there seems to be understanding that treasury is sliding to Rigathi Gachagwa's side. Yes? There have been, of course, what Ruto did is a zebra ticket, so that when you have a Kalenjin, you have a Kikuyu. So treasury PS, there is Kipto, then there is Kipto, then there is Njuguna Ndung'u. That ticket, and I think the sphere of influence within treasury, Ruto is simply not getting gripped of that influence. And that is why there is bit of some reshuffling in the offing. Number two, I think Ruto is consolidating loyalists, deal loyalists. You cannot underestimate the fact that these guys were loyalists of the president by then. And I also see total trust breakdown on economic advisory team. Who to trust? Do you trust Treasury? Do you trust Kenya David Ndii? Do you trust the State House team? There is a total breakdown. And they seem to be looking for loyalists. And the challenge is we still continue to be here. The kind of a loyalist that William Ruto need is a man who will go to room with him, look at him in the face, and tell him that, Mr. President, this, that, and that one is not working, and we are not going to have a solution. This, and this, and this, you are being lied to. No one Ruto has lacked someone to tell, and the more he keeps on planting back these cronies, I think he is not going to get the kind of a person that will paint the real picture of what exactly is going on. Because without that, I can promise you, things are not going to be that easy. I remember the current, just in January here, Njuguna Ndung'u came out and said that G2G was a flop. Yes. He owned up and said, despite the fact that this is happening, but G2G is a flop. So due to these developments, that is why there seems to be some trust deficit, that these gentlemen that are here maybe are not dancing to my tune. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my take. And if I allow me to give it a long shot, then even if that reshuffle doesn't happen now, then the next cabinet, if Ruto is to form any other cabinet, then expect Treasury CS, the former Treasury CS, to bounce back to that position. I think Ruto is simply trying to reinject. Instead of doing direct reshuffle, is trying to reinject people so that rejuvenate as things move through. Thank you guys, and thank you very much for being part of this great team. We only had a deficit of 33,000. Let's top up those who had already promised that they will give, so that if it stretches to Saturday morning, yes, we'll be able to discharge them very early in the morning. Asanteni.